I grew up in Israel, and then when I was 9, I moved to Texas. So I have a weird accent. Being transplanted from Israel to all of a sudden you're in the middle of Texas, really made me realize that there's these pockets of chaos, and that chaos isn't necessarily a bad thing. When you're growing up, you have a little bit of maybe white space to play, or you encounter situations and have all of a sudden a little bit of serendipity. And yet when we become adults, we try to take the chaos out of the equation, to take all the variance out of the equation. But by doing so, we actually miss out on some of the benefits of chaos. So the question is, how can you have pockets of chaos within a structured organization? There is actually a cost we pay for control. There's an economic cost we pay. So when you think about if you're buying 49% share in a company versus 51%, you're actually paying a premium to get a controlling interest in the company. But what is the economic cost that we pay in our sales organizations or broadly in the company to have all the data, to be able to control the processes? And is that cost justifiable in this new digital age? It's strategic to induce little pockets of white space throughout your day. So it's not about taking everything away and going out in the middle of the desert. It's think about an hour-long meeting that you might have, and think about how much of that meeting, if you're meeting, say, with your team, how much of that meeting do you allow them to actually sit and reflect? You can use just 2 minutes, or just 3 minutes of just giving them a little bit of a chance. Your brain literally goes to a different cycle. It activates the default mode network, which gives us more creativity and gives us more insight. We are almost prisoners to control. We think that the more we control, the more effective we're going to be. But in reality, we're paying a cost for control, and we're missing out on all the upsides that can occur when we introduce a little bit of white space, a little bit of organized serendipity, a little bit of interacting with unusual suspects, people that aren't the people who come to mind when you think about a business process. Through LinkedIn, I learned about Scott Santucci and the wonderful things he was doing with the Sales Enablement Society. And what's so exciting about the society is that it purposely introduces pockets of chaos in order to create the serendipity of forming a new, or giving definition to a new profession. And what I loved about Scott and what I love about Sales Enablement is that he read the Chaos book and implemented it almost word for word in this society. And what's been really exciting are these serendipitous moments where we're starting to see the membership just really skyrocket. The digital world is making sales much more into a science and then just simple art. And with that means that there's a lot more moving parts that need to be coordinated. And we're starting to realize, hey, there needs to be someone in charge of this coordination. And on one level, you could say this is becoming a really scary world. How do I navigate this world? And on the other, I think the reason that the mood here is so high is that there's people who realize that there's a lot of change happening in the world, but that by bouncing into each other, by having these unexpected connections, we can actually figure out the changes together. The more technology we have, the sharper the tool that people have within organizations. And at the same time, we also need to align all of these very sharp tools in order to create organizational effectiveness and in order to drive growth. I think change is happening so quickly that it's difficult to look out at the far future, say 5 years out. And I think that when we do, we should almost put on our wizard hats because we're totally just guessing. I think because change is happening so quickly, it's more interesting to look at 6 months, 9 months, 12 months into the future. Think about something as simple as Tesla releasing a bunch of autonomous trucks onto freeways. So you have all these trucks that are driving around without drivers. And we leave for a moment the question of what happens to all the truck drivers. But think about what happens to a gas station. So you have a gas station in the middle of Arizona somewhere, and all of a sudden it's not needed to fuel these vehicles. What happens to the real estate costs? Well, they go dramatically down. And might that create an opportunity, for example, for a order fulfillment center? So does that actually create all of a sudden a competition for Amazon? And if we focus about what's happening in the next 6 months, then we can actually react and we can actually shape that much more effectively than having more philosophical questions about what happens when robots rule the world. Think about disintermediation. Think about your job and how might your job might not exist in a couple of years. And if it doesn't, what are the opportunities for you to shape technologies? What are the opportunities to stay relevant? And stop blindly believing in a religious belief that everything will be the same just because it has been the same for so long. Ask yourself, how much of my work is art and how much of my work is science? And chances are that the science part of your work is going to be taken over by technology.